Say sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So, dear Dharma friends, according to the Buddha's teachings, always you have to remember the main purpose in your life, you have to develop the wisdom yourself. So, to develop that wisdom towards self-realization. Without that wisdom, so whatever you do, it's not going to bring kind of any profitable skills to yourself. If anything doesn't bring any profitable skills, you cannot count it as a meritorious act. So sometimes in day-to-day life, we perform many kind of good activities, bodily, verbally, mentally, good activities. But at the same time, if you look very deeply, if you don't have enough wisdom to recognize the very nature of the ourself or our mind or the very nature of the world, and sometimes even though you do good actions, end of that all, you get hurt. Once you get hurt, you become unhappy. That unhappiness itself can lead you to resistance, create violence, rejection. So when it comes to demon nature, how the demons arise. So the demons arise with the rejection, violence. So the violence, one of the connotations for the violence is turbulence, unbalance. So whatever create unbalance within your physical, mental can create violence. And it create a kind of different nature which you don't want to accept. That is the demon nature. So we look about the demons here and there and thinking about what it is, what it is. So remember always, the very demon nature is rejection and violence. So then when you practice meditation, one of the very important thing that you do, you neutralize this demon nature inside you. That means you don't reject. As example, inhalation, exhalation. In the third level that we always talk, when the inhalation become longer, shorter, heavy, soft, warm, cold. So you don't reject that anything. You just accept without interfering, without involving with its own nature. That is one of the great mental quality that if you can develop. So in that very moment, no any turbulence happen within yourself, because that turbulence itself take you to fear. So in day-to-day life, this kind of nature happen naturally within us. So but if you practice with the meditation little by little, deeply, your subconscious mind start to understand and get used to this practice little by little, and then with your whatever the experience in day-to-day life, with your perceptions, that it not going to happen. So if you reject your perceptions, or if you have the turbulence with the perception with your eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, that itself in that moment, the rejection or the demon nature arise. So that is something you have to think about. And so that's why the wisdom is a very necessary thing in day-to-day life. So then how we can get this wisdom? In this wisdom path, mainly we talk about conventional truth and eternal truth. So relative truth and ultimate truth. And when it comes to relative truth, conventional truth, what is the important thing that you have to understand in the very experience of the relative truth or the conventional truth, whatever you talk about regarding the ultimate truth, also relative truth. Be very clear. If you want to take a note and just take time and look, we have two kind of truth. So remember, we go towards the wisdom. In this wisdom path, we have two kind of truth. One is conventional truth, and it's another way relative truth. Other one is ultimate truth or the eternal truth. So that what we mention as eternal truth or ultimate truth also kind of a relative truth. If we use the relative mind to explain the ultimate truth. But to the point of reference that we have to bring something to make this conversation. So then always you have to remember, when we say ultimate truth, it is just to have a conversation. Otherwise, it also relative. When it go to ultimate truth, there is no, in the ultimate truth level, there is no division that you can point out as relative truth. Because in the ultimate truth, if from that point of reference, if you try to talk about relative truth, it's anymore, you are not reached to ultimate truth. So that is this is a huge conversation from long time in the history of this, the Dharma. But somehow you have to be very clear. That's why we go with the Samatha and Vipassana, this both. In the Samatha level, as I mentioned, we develop this constructive method, but when it comes to Vipassana level, you deconstruct. So this deconstruction method to your mind, if you are able to little by develop, you able to understand this nature. So somehow, when it comes to relative truth, the very nature of the relative truth, you can make an argument. And also, it always has that the cause and effect. And also, it you can kind of like observe and divide to parts. And also, when it comes to relative truth, and you can prove it is not like that. So whatever that the relative truth, you can prove it is not like that. So whatever you take as example, this is a pen, this is relative. That everybody can see, everybody can touch. And then one thing is, you can make arguments regarding this. And it depends on the cause and effect. And also you can prove this is not a pen, even though it hold a pen. How? Because once you start to take parts, and then you cannot prove this as a pen. Though then, so that's mean it always depending from each other. Another thing is movable. That is the very nature of relative truth. It's movable. If it is not movable, it's not belong to relative truth. And another thing is, when it comes to this relative truth, so we didn't talk about ultimate truth, we just talk about the relative truth. So you and me, this everything, this that it's movable. This otherwise, if it is unmovable, it doesn't function, then it not belong to relative truth. And also, if not depending on from cause and effect, it not belong to relative truth. And also, if you cannot make arguments, that means that other person cannot get a view regarding point of the reference for that person, and that also not belong to the point, the relative truth. So like that, when it comes to this relative truth, there are few things. And then other thing is, in that the truth, there are two parts: relative truth, ultimate truth, conventional and eternal. And then we just talk about the very nature of the conventional truth. In that conventional also, there are two parts: valid relative truth and invalid relative truth. So the valid relative truth means like the moon in the sky, and then it's a valid relative truth. You can see it, everybody can see it, if we accept it, and we have that even we can introduce to others. It's a valid relative truth, but it is relative, but it is valid. And like everybody valid to say this is pen, and this is chair, this is computer, this is phone, this is light, this is a house. So everybody agree to do that. It's valid in that condition. And there's an invalid truth also, invalid relative truth. So invalid relative truth means like moon in the lake at night in full moon days. So you see the moon just shining in the water. You see it, but there is no something such a thing like that. But you see it, and you can tell to others, but it is not real. So it is relative, but it is not real. Another thing is, so it is invalid. Another thing is the shadow. It's invalid relative truth. Another thing is that when you look at your face in the mirror, that you see it, but it is not you, but it is not a different person. But in the mirror, there is no such a person. It's a reflection. So it is invalid truth. The most important thing is, when it comes to relative truth, and in that relative invalid truth is the past and the future. So the past and the future related to invalid relative truth. So the wisdom means you have to exit from this relative truth. And before you exit, you should know you are in the relative truth. But the thing is this, most of people, rather than exit from the relative truth, they caught up to relative truth thinking regarding the ultimate truth. So as example, with this relative information, you can attain to enlightenment. Reading books, listening to Dharma talks, following information, getting details, and then thinking yourself, you can, like yogis, rishis, there are many models that you can find. And the worst thing is, this all the university professors mostly sometimes, without the experience regarding meditation or the tranquility state like that, as a subject, they teach meditation as a subject. See, through the details, and they can get into samadhi. So it is a kind of invalid relative truth. And there are students, if they want, through information, and sometimes they attain to enlightenment. So that is one of the worst things that happened. This, as a subject, you study, and then you get into the informations, and in that information you caught up. Even that, it can happen to monks also. There are a lot of monks, and there are a lot of lay people. There are a lot of people, they practice meditation, and then as ideas in this relative truth and even invalid relative truth, they caught up. And then they caught up in, and then they believing, and they develop the ultimate truth. But they don't see, they recognize it, that the necessary circumstances followed by the relative truth. So then how you find the exits? How you get out of the relative truth, rather than caught up in that relative truth, thinking you you recognize the ultimate truth. So the very first thing that you have to understand, you are inside the relative truth. So that is what we does through the meditation, going step by step, and observing the five aggregates, and see the change and how it is happening. And then we become very clear with the experience of our own mind. So once you become very clear with your own mind, in that very point, it's kind of like in the dark hole that you recognize the exit board. So that is where you recognize you are inside the hole sometimes. How about if you don't see you are inside the hole, you never try to exit. You don't look for exit because you think you are maybe exit. So in the spiritual path, when you look for truth, when you look for wisdom, sometimes our own ignorance hold we ourselves thinking it is the wisdom. That is the most dangerous thing with the relative truth. When you take this relative truth as the ultimate truth, you cannot exit. So then, to find the way, the one of the major important thing is dropping the resistance. When you see something, When you hear something, when you smell something, when you taste something, when you think something, in the middle of that experience, not to create any kind of resistance. When you don't have any resistance, there is no rejection. That when there is no rejection means, remember this very careful, listen this slowly, very careful. With your eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, with the perceptions, when there is no rejection, when the experience happens, total, when there is no rejection to 100%, when you are very clear and available, and there is no resistance or rejection, you come to a point 100% total acceptance. That is the moment you get the exit. To get that exit moment, when that exit moment happens, when you are totally become free from all the rejection and that resistance, in that very moment when you come to the point of total 100% acceptance with your perceptions, with your eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, in that very moment, in the bottom line, in the deeper in your consciousness, no any kind of mental formations related to the past or the future. That is where the journey, the exist, that you can exist from the conventional truth, not by thinking, not by arguing. That's why that the Buddha in the sutras, in many times it's explained through arguments. You cannot get into this. Through kind of like a too much effort, you cannot get into this. And becoming violence, you cannot get into this. So then to get into this total truth, you have to, and other thing is, be very careful, listen this very careful, and even you can write down somewhere. This is what most of the people do. Even knowingly that now you know this relative truth is it is a conventional truth, is a kind of like not valid. So most of people, oh, this is used, oh, this is not good. People like to reject things and thinking, and this world is harmful for us. That all the yogis, ascetics, that they used to practice like that way. Even they become completely naked, even thinking this other everything, this material world is so harmful. And it the very danger, if you don't accept the relative truth, you go to nihilism. Nihilism, all, or reject everything. And then that rejection create again resistance. And that resistance inside, it create a demon that you because always firing, fear. You cannot get into that. So, and even thinking, oh, this relative truth is important for us, and this is what will take us to enlightenment. So like that, we need to have this journey. So like that, if you too much holding, then you become extreme. Then you go that way also. So then you have to remember, in conventional truth, the whatever this we experience, what is the conventional truth mean? Rather than going material names, remember that if something you can argue, if something movable, if something depending from something, and if something effect with the cause and effect. So this all related to the conventional truth. So then, and in that conventional truth, there are two: valid conventional truth, invalid conventional truth. So you cannot reject even the invalid conventional truth. You cannot reject. So as example, when you look at the moon, so in that sometimes you see kind of like a rabbit, and you try to show it to children. Oh, look at that moon. There's a rabbit, the shape of the rabbit, but there is no rabbit. But you cannot kill the idea of that rabbit in this child's heart or the mind, because that child start to have the compassion, the love, all the creativity, looking that invalid truth. So as example, that is what happening to the world. When the world become more strong with the science and technology, they destroy this invalid truth. As example that if the moon and the dark night, somewhere if you look at the stars, and maybe you go to, in the full moon day, you go to the lake and you see the moon reflection in that lake, and it brings the creativity, but there's nothing. But that you cannot reject it, and you cannot jump into the lake and thinking to catch the moon also. So then what you have to do, you come to a point, total acceptance without rejecting. So then, and you just allow it to be there. That doesn't mean you take it as, oh, thinking, oh, there is moon. No, you just see it at the lake and it's a reflection, and you're not going to go to arguments in it. And you completely not get disturbed out of that. So that conventional truth, and even this relative truth, and the valid relative truth and invalid relative truth. So this both, you have to accept and let it be. But at the same time, rather than holding it to it, you have to find the exit. How you can find the exit? And rather than clinging to that, or rather than the rejecting it, just come to 100% total acceptance, your perception. In that very moment, no violence, that means no turbulence. In that very moment, no any demons, nature in you. That's where you completely become purified. In that purification, that's what we call self-purification. In that self-purification, you come to the total experience of the moment. In that experience, your transformation happen. That is what called liberation. But by reading, by listening, and go through lectures, go through some kind of books, you cannot get that. Why? Because it is relative. So then little by little, only thing is, any experience without rejecting and without clinging, holding, just let it be. With your eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, just let it be. No clinging, no desire, no rejection. And it's very easy, because when you come to 100% no rejection with anything regarding your perceptions, and then you will see, because the rejection comes as a result of the kind of like a clinging. When you don't have clinging, there is no any kind of the resistance. So the both this, it's kind of like interdepending each other. Without any clinging, there is no resistance. Without any resistance, there is no any clinging. So with your eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, with the perception, you have to work with it. There is nothing else. You don't need to work with the faraway stars or something, or with your past or the future, nothing like that. Just with the moment. That's why when it comes to inhalation, exhalation, just recognizing inhalation, exhalation, and without interfering to that, and observing. Even when it comes to the five aggregates, without interfering, and just seeing how that the things happen, and give the moment for you to exit from the point wherever you are. So that is that is the point of the path of kind of liberation. But when you come to that, it's kind of like always imitation gold. Try to shine. Always try to appear like gold. That is the very nature of imitation gold. But when it comes to real gold, there is no kind of like effort even to appear like gold. It completely becomes neutral. The same thing happening in your mind also when you come to ultimate truth. In that ultimate truth, when you reach to something, in that very moment, you have no any struggle to become somebody. It's like the pure gold. It doesn't have any desire to shine, because it itself gold. It completely relaxed. It's comfortable wherever it is. And even if there is no any resistance, go against imitation. That is the beauty of the pure gold. It doesn't matter how shine, how beautifully shine, better than that. The real gold never have any single resistance regarding even the entire universe shine beautifully, 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 more and more and more, higher than the pure gold. This pure gold doesn't have any single effort to shine and show off. I am better than you. I am better than you. So that's why I mentioned, try to come to a total acceptance and becoming neutral without any rejection with your eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind. When you come to that point, in that very moment, you become kind of like a pure gold. You exist, but no struggle. It doesn't matter others. So think about it. So with that, I bless upon everyone with this good practice. May all of you be well, happy and peaceful. May no harm come to you. May no difficulties come to you. May no problems come to you. May you also have the patience, courage, understanding, and determination to meet and overcome inevitable difficulties in your life. During this time period, may everyone stay healthy and safe. And finally, may all of you attain supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sabbityo vajjantu sabbarogo vinasatu mate bhavatantarayo sukhi digayuko bhava. Ettavata chammi sampadang punya sampadang sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Sabbe satta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Idammi punya kammang asavakkaya vahang hotu sabba dukkha pamuncatu. Bless you.